Evening, everybody. Tommy Jordan here. I'm doing this video about House Resolution 38. It's the North Carolina bill uh, brought up before D.C. Congress to uh, federalize or constitutionalize or nationalize concealed carry. It's called the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act of 2017. The ultimate goal of that bill is to make it so if you have a concealed carry permit from one state, you can conceal carry in the other 49 states. And someone somewhere thinks that's a good idea. Well, actually, my elected representative, Richard Hudson, thought it was a good idea. I told him it wasn't. He didn't listen to me. Why would he? Justin Burr said it was a good idea. I told him vehemently it was not a good idea. But again, why would anybody pay attention to me? And even locally at our county level, this particular law has come up and got a lot of support. Although why it's being drug into county level politics, I have no idea. So as I look on Facebook, I try to just let it go and not really let it bug me. But I look on Facebook, I look on social networks and comments and blogs, and it keeps coming up that we're just stupid for not doing and not already having a national reciprocity for concealed carry. And I find myself sitting here going, am I the only one of you people that has any common sense? I realize that's an arrogant thing to say. Sorry about that. But that's how I feel. No sense in trying to, wrap it in a bow. It's true. So, little background. One, I am a concealed carry instructor. Doesn't make me special. I'm just saying I do have an education on the subject we're talking about. None of the people promoting this bill have that education, apparently, and I'm guessing none of them have gone through the courses that we as instructors have, or they would know why some of this stuff is a stupid idea. Quite frankly, I think if you're going to go propose a law before Congress, you should fully understand the ramifications of the law you're proposing, which in this case would pretty much require the federal government to completely rewrite states' laws in regards to tons of different things and federalize both criminality and punishment for gun crimes across all 50 states, which I'm pretty sure no gun-toting, Second Amendment supporting redneck wants. Nobody wants bigger federal government. Nobody wants the federal government doing more. So let me tell you what's going to happen if we do this. Suppose you have your concealed carry permit from North Carolina. Well, okay, great. We're one of the states that has a pretty in-depth concealed carry application process. You have to go through a course. It's at least 8 hours long. It could be longer. It has to cover certain subject material, A, B, C, and D, as outlined by the state. It has to be taught by a DOJ-approved instructor. Has to meet certain criteria, and then you have to go shoot. Physically stand in front of an instructor, load, fire, unload, reload your firearm, shoot from 3 different distances, and prove you can hit a target about 80% of the time. So at least you went and spent some serious attention one day and really, hopefully, learned what you're supposed to know. But I can tell you from my own student experiences, it doesn't last. You forget what you learned in that class, sometimes before you finish the class, because there's a lot to learn. There's so many laws to learn just about our one state alone that it takes me all day long to teach it. The longest course I ever taught was 13 hours long. And I'm telling you, that's just one state. Now, that's what I would like to call an example of a good state that has a good concealed carry policy, because I'm proud of our state's approach to concealed carry. So let me take you over to like Virginia. Let's say you're a citizen in Virginia who wants to apply for a concealed carry. You can do that as easily as buying a lottery ticket. I mean, it's a joke. Virginia's laws are pathetic. You can go online, take a course on the computer, never fire a gun, never talk to an instructor, never leave your chair, keep your butt behind the keyboard, get a concealed carry certificate, and not prove that you know a darn thing, except how to answer some questions that any 12-year-old knows how to multi-tab in Chrome and cheat their way through. So, would you want Virginia, and I'll use them as an example, would you want to assume that all Virginia concealed carry permit holders are going to know the laws necessary for traveling in North Carolina and using or concealing a firearm? No. Common sense means they're not going to know squat. They're just simply not. They just don't know the laws. You could either federalize the laws and make all the states have the same laws, or you could just assume that people are going to do what they're supposed to do and actually research every state's laws before they travel from state to state. And you'd be hoping for a lot if you think that's going to happen, because it's not. So let me give you a couple normal scenarios for what daily life is like for a concealed carry holder. I'm in North Carolina. I'm going to drive my daughter or my son to school on school property. I'm going to drive my truck through, drop my son off, and drive away. Can I carry a firearm in the vehicle? Do you know in your state? I mean, like right now, do you know the answer to that question? In North Carolina, the answer is yes. If it's a public school in North Carolina, you can, as long as you don't leave the vehicle. And if you do leave the vehicle, the firearm has got to be in a locked container, a closed container inside a locked vehicle, or a locked container affixed to a vehicle. In South Carolina, do the same thing. South Carolina statute to 16-23-420, misdemeanor crime. Or depending on the severity of how you do it, South Carolina General Statute 16-23-430, felony. In North Carolina, one law is the same act is fine. In South Carolina, it's a felony. Do you know the difference for the other 48 states? Probably not. How about stand your ground? Suppose you ever need to use your firearm and you're traveling to another state. Do you have the right to stand your ground? Do you know what the stand your ground law means, or Castle Doctrine means? In North Carolina, you do not have a duty to retreat. You can defend yourself in your home, motor vehicle, workplace. You don't have a duty to retreat at all, even in public. In Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Nebraska, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, New York, Maine, Delaware, New Jersey, and Virginia, you can't. No wonder Virginia you can't, because they let idiots get a concealed carry permit. I can't be surprised they don't have a stand your ground law. You can get the gun, they really don't want, but they really don't want you to use it. So again, the same thing that's perfectly okay in North Carolina to do is against the law in a slew of states. Do you have a duty to retreat? Let's say you're attacked in public. Do you have a duty to retreat before escalating to pulling a firearm to defend yourself or someone else? Do you know? Do you have a duty to retreat if you're in public? Do you have a duty to retreat if you're in your home or someone else's home? Do you have a duty to retreat in a public place? Depends on the state you're in right now. So every state's different. The penalty for violating that statute is different. Giving people a nationwide law that is yet subject to 50 different territorial states' interpretations, and then saying, here, go do this. Are you kidding me? It's a stupid idea. How about traveling? You're a college-age person, or you're a parent going to see your kid's college, or you're just a friend going to see another college campuses. Can you carry on a college campus? Do you know? Do you know if it's statewide? Do you have any idea? 23 states, you can't carry it on. 23 other states, they leave it up to the college to determine on a per school basis. 4 states have never bothered to write a law either way because it's not been adjudicated in court yet. So we're not really sure if you can or can't. Law doesn't say you can't, but law doesn't say you can. So unless it's a common law concealed carry state, you couldn't anyway, which to my knowledge, none of those exist. How about restaurants that serve alcohol? In the South, we call this restaurant carry. In our state, in Virginia and a few others, you have the right to carry a firearm concealed in a place that serves alcohol, such as, let's say, Applebee's that has a bar, as long as you're not drinking. Not only can you not have any alcohol, you cannot have any alcohol in your blood system at all. You can't have had a drink at lunch 4 hours ago, have any alcohol in your system, and carry a gun at dinner. No, can't do that. But if you don't drink, like me, you can carry your firearm to Applebee's and have dinner with your wife who wants a glass of wine. Fine. In 12 states, they're okay with that as long as alcohol is not the primary revenue source of that particular establishment. In 12 other states, you can't do it, period. We used to be that way until 2013. 26 states have no law about it one way or the other. Did you even know that was a law? Do you know if it's a law in your state? Churches. Can you carry in your state in a church? Very few people know the answer to this. Can you open carry in your state, and can you conceal carry in your state? If you don't know, you should figure it out. Because if there's one law you don't know, there's probably 50 others just like it you also don't know. FYI, 14 states prohibit concealed carry in a church. 36 just don't have a law on it. It's not permitted anywhere. It's just not forbidden in some places. Hospitals. Can you carry a gun in a hospital? I would think no, never. Yep, you can in 7 states. I'm sorry. No, you cannot in 7 states. I wrote these facts down so I would have them. 4 states prohibit it sometimes, and 39 states just don't even have a law about it at all. So, you understand why things are starting to get confusing. How about use of deadly force? Those down here in our state who are pushing it, I assume you understand stand your ground laws in our state. Do you understand stand your ground laws in the state of Wisconsin? More importantly, does someone coming from Wisconsin understand stand your ground laws here? Because they're never going to be taught that. And currently, they're informed by their instructor in Wisconsin to definitely study the state's laws they're going to visit. But if you're going to honor any state's permit, they can just go online to Virginia, get a non-resident permit, or go online to Utah and get a non-resident permit, then have a Utah permit while living in Wisconsin and traveling to North Carolina. Yes, that happens all the time. It's one of the loopholes that people keep trying to abuse. So, in Wisconsin, I'm going to quote the statute. A person is privileged to point a gun at another person in self-defense if the person reasonably believes that the threat of force is necessary to prevent or terminate what he or she reasonably believes to be an unlawful interference. State versus Watkins, 2002. Did you read? So let me clarify. In Wisconsin, you can point a gun at somebody and use the threat of force if you think it's necessary to prevent whatever's happening from happening. You can use a firearm to issue a threat of force. Doesn't sound necessarily overly complicated unless you live in North Carolina, in which case there's no such thing as threat of force. There's deadly force. North Carolina, you do that. North Carolina General Statute 14-34, Class A1 misdemeanor, pointing a loaded or unloaded gun at another human being. Period. You point a gun at somebody, it's a crime. We have no threat of force in this state. We have the use of deadly force, and we have not the use of deadly force. That's it. There's no threat of deadly force. You pull a firearm, you were exercising deadly force the moment you break leather and point that gun at another human being. You were already doing it. Legally, it's the same as if you pulled the trigger. And the person on the other end of the barrel can act accordingly. So if they are not a criminal, they can shoot you back and never go to jail. If they are a criminal, well, then they don't really care in the first place because they're doing something to make you point a gun at them, so they're still going to shoot you back. So the only person it affects is the concealed carry holder, who probably doesn't know Carolina law as good as some of us do. So let me clarify that. A person is justified in using force, except deadly force, against another when and to the extent the person reasonably believes the conduct is necessary to defend himself or herself or another against the other's imminent use of unlawful force. However, a person is justified in the use of deadly force and does not have a duty to retreat in any place he or she has the lawful right to be if either of the following applies. He or she reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or another, or under other circumstances permitted pursuant to government statute 14-51.2. Do you understand that? I do, because I teach it, but your average person doesn't, including the lawyers I have to teach it to. I teach it to them and they go, wait, back up, I need my paralegal here. Let me take notes on that and break it down. In North Carolina, you can either not pull a firearm and have a fist fight legally, or you can pull a firearm and use deadly force. But you better have already decided at that point you're going to kill that person. If you point a gun at somebody, you best pull the trigger. That's our law. Wisconsin, you can point a gun at somebody and not commit a crime at all. Wow. Okay. The other 48 states, the laws can vary drastically. You need to know the laws of each state, and you're not going to. There is literally no way you can. Not a single person out there can quote to me all 50 states' laws. I don't care how smart you think you are. You can't do it. It's just not humanly possible. We don't need to nationalize concealed carry just for that reason alone. How about one of those scenarios that we teach in class? You pull your gun to defend someone else who at the moment you think needs to be defended. You pull the trigger, you miss the assailant, you didn't hit anyone, but you hit a building. Let's say it was occupied. Actually, let's say it was not occupied. In other words, you went to save someone, you pulled the trigger, and you missed. Did you commit a crime? No, nobody was hit. Did you commit a crime? Yeah, in this state, you just committed a Class D felony. In Nebraska, you just committed a Class IC felony. Do you know why? Probably not, but you should. If you had a real concealed carry course, you would. If your state required a real concealed carry course, you would. But if you went to a state that doesn't have those laws, sorry. A lot of states have crappy concealed carry laws, and federalizing those laws, or federalizing that right to carry, the only way to make that work is if you then federalize punishments, and you make states standardize on what is a gun crime, what is illegal possession, what kind of guns can and can't be carried, what constitutes a handgun. States vary on that. There's a legal definition of what is a handgun, and guess what? It's different in all 50 states. It might mean the same thing, it might not. The people that make these laws, I'm just assuming, have no knowledge that any of this is true. The people supporting these laws in the general public, I know, have no knowledge that any of this is true. I teach concealed carry as a part-time job. It's not my full-time career. I have a full-time job. It pays very well. I'm very blessed that way. So I do concealed carry because I think it needs to be taught right, not because I want to make the money, okay? I make very little money as a concealed carry instructor. A lot of people we teach for free or for discounts. But we teach it, and we teach it well because it needs to be taught well. If you're going to arm a population or, encourage people to carry a gun, you got to encourage them to do it responsibly. And federalizing this law across all 50 states and making other states adopt other states' poor training standards as a legal reason to carry, it's a mistake. Richard Hudson, I've told you before, I'm telling you now officially, it's a mistake. The bill was a mistake. You shouldn't have pushed it through. Justin Burr, you represent my district. You definitely shouldn't have pushed it through. In fact, it actually has no business even being discussed in this district because it's a national matter. But since you chose to champion it, it's a mistake. And anybody on my board of commissioners, which by the way I'm running for this year, woohoo, that supported it, it's also a mistake. And if you disagree, I challenge you to tell me why. Okay? That's it. That's my 2 cents. Sorry it was so long. Have a good day, y'all.